All right, here with Dave Wilson, who I've been chatting with on Twitter for a few months now, and Dave is somebody who is he has a passion for cards, and so when I thought about starting this new show, I have a passion for cards, but my passion goes way back to 1984. I'm a little bit older than Dave, but Dave, first of all, just talk about, give us your Twitter handle and such, but also I'm very interested in your fandom in your passion of the hobby and like how far you go back collecting.
So I am NT Sports Cards on Twitter and eBay Beat Club 112. Uh, my passion and collecting of cards goes back to 1990.
There we go.
Got the 1990 Upper Deck Baseball box set from my parents. The first packs I remember opening were my first year in Calgary. I got 2 boxes of the 91-92 Upper Deck hockey and just opened all of that. And it was just a fun thing to do. Stepped away, didn't really collect in my teenage years, came back to it in 2000, and the past 22 years now, it's been nonstop, basically.
So you kind of started with baseball, you started with hockey. I go back to 84, and we're talking 84 Fleer baseball. I had some 83, but not a ton.
Yeah.
And then, it's like baseball, playing baseball and, getting baseball cards for getting a couple hits. And I think I continued. And so it was, a lot of it was my dad also had a pretty good passion. Like he had cards when he was younger. And so he would take like my stuff and, I'd put them together and I'd try to create the sets and see how much. And then he kind of took them over as I got closer to like high school and college. And then he just like went crazy. Like he probably buys a box a week just as a hobby. And then he's on eBay selling them as well. So this is like very near and dear to my heart. So on this show specifically, we're going to talk more wrestling and MMA cards, and Dave and I have some cards to open, and we'll kind of open them in the background as we chat. But Dave, as far as the hobby today, if we imported somebody from the year 1992 to 2022, 30 years later, the hobby would be unrecognizable. There is so much of a it's less of a, and you can help explain these terms. So when I'm growing up, what collectors today would call that stuff junk wax. Explain what junk wax means.
So from the late 80s, maybe 87, 88, depending on the sport, to the mid 90s, 94, 95, the various card companies, that was the first boom for the hobby. And the card companies want to maximize profits, so they maximize production. And the junk wax term comes from the fact that there's so much stuff produced that couldn't hold its value.
Right. Because obviously, if there's not a scarcity, then the value goes down.
Yeah.
And if you create scarcity, then the value goes up.
Exactly.
So today, if you were to go to a card store or a hobby store, what we would have known back in the day as a baseball card store, you're not going to walk into a store and see tons of packs for $1 or $2 or $3. Now, a lot of stores won't even have packs. They'll just only sell by the box. Why is that? How did we get to where we are today with the high prices, with the prevalence on nobody's creating really sets today? They're looking for inserts. They're looking for autos. They're looking for parallels. They're looking for, one of ones. How did we get here, and when did all of this sort of start to change?
Well, I'd have to say I started to notice a change. It would have been like 2005, 2006. for the most, like back then, a lot of what I was doing was hockey related, being up in Canada. Um, and it was 2002, 2003, I think, Upper Deck Premier Hockey. It was the most expensive box of cards I'd ever opened. It was one pack, four cards, and it was $150. And I was just out of high school, and I was working a menial job, and I didn't have a lot of money. So that $150 for four cards was significant. And then in hockey and basketball, Upper Deck had the licenses then, and they produced Exquisite for basketball and the Cup for hockey. And those became $500 per pack products.
Wow.
So it was one pack products, and it was 5 to 7 cards per pack. And yeah, it was just like the standard retail price coming out on release, 499, like 99.
Whew.
And then Tops, I can't really remember Tops first like big jump, uh super premium release. Panini took it to another level with Flawless,
Mm-hmm.
which was about $1,200 per case. Uh, they came in briefcases, so again, it is one pack, 10 cards. But recently, the newest basketball product came out just a week or two ago, and it was $15,000 per box. Drake opened something like 20 cases, and 7 days later, it jumped to $45,000 a box. Like
The
just
influencer.
insanity. Absolutely, absolutely.
That's
And
amazing.
and the proliferation or the recent boom, which started around the pandemic, go figure,
Yeah.
people sitting at homes with some disposable income,
Right.
happened in 2020, and that's when a lot more celebrities, Steve Aoki, Mark Wahlberg with his kids, got into the hobby and started putting stuff on their IGs, and it has really become an influencer uh, themed uh, boom now.
So if now I'll sort of give my perspective as someone who fell out a little bit. The one place that I would go and see cards, and I would just kind of check what was there, not even necessarily going to buy, was like Target or Walmart. Now, those cards that are at those stores, it's a retail version of the product. And if you go into a hobby store or if you go online and try and buy from a website, you're buying the hobby product. Now, what is the difference and why is there a difference? Why does Target get what we would call a blaster box or a hanger box? Um, and you know you'll see those at a hobby stores, but they're mostly you're mostly looking at regular boxes, hobby boxes. What is the difference between those products and why do they exist?
So it's to trying to attract a different audience or market. So the hobby exclusive products are to keep the hobby stores, which are like it's the lifeblood of the whole business,
Yes.
going. So those those cards, I have a box of Topps Finest Hobby here.
Hmm.
So this is I think 12 packs, two mini boxes, 6 packs per mini box, one autograph in each mini box. So you're guaranteed more hits, autographs, memorabilia cards, and serial numbered parallel cards. And that's the biggest difference with the retail product. Again, depending on the hanger, retail box, mega box, there's seems to be an endless supply of different types of retail product, even.
Yeah.
They all have different uh, chases. So in the regular retail for Topps Finest, I believe it's the X Fractor cards that you're looking at in those packs, whereas the hobby box don't actually have those. It's not a numbered parallel or anything, but that's the sort of thing. It's largely in creating different parallel cards along among the different types of product.
Now, as a hobby enthusiast such as yourself, Do you care at all about the retail product? Because like if you're going into a Target and you see, oh my gosh, they actually have, you know, basketball, which seems to go off the shelves very quickly. Are you buying that stuff? Or are you like, I have it at the hobby store. I don't really need it. It's not as necessary.
Well, basketball and football are a bit different up here in Canada. Those have become so popular that for hobby stores, there's one national distributor in Canada, and they heavily allocate the product. So the guy that runs my main hobby shop here in Calgary, he can order 2 cases of a product and be sent 2 boxes, whereas 1 case is 12 boxes. He doesn't know what he's getting. He can only ask for what he would like and receives whatever they'll give him. So with basketball and football in particular, it's really tough to actually get hobby product. So in those instances, retail really has become quite popular. And with that, though, the retail products themselves have jumped up in value on the secondary market.
Right.
So if they get to the hobby store, you're not paying the same price that you would at Target or Walmart.
Right.
You're paying 2-3 times more even.
Now for something, obviously, Topps has some distribution in your Target. You'll see some Upper Deck stuff, obviously, as well. I've yet to see AEW cards at a retail store. Have you seen the AEW Upper Deck set at a retail place yet?
No, haven't seen any AEW in retail form yet. Just a hobby. I managed to grab 2 boxes the day of release, and yeah.
Do you like the product?
I really like the product. I'm not in love with the design aspect, but it was a really nice product, and they've made the hits rare enough that with the initial release, there actually is a lot of value if you're looking in that, like for that. The autographs in particular only fall about 3 per case of 12 boxes, so even more lower card performers, or you can still see a pretty nice return if you put it up for sale. So
all right, we're gonna switch gears for just 1 second because I see a Seahawks banner behind you.
Yeah.
So that is your NFL team of choice there?
Yeah. See, I was born in Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
So
Pretty
Vancouver
close.
Canucks, Seattle Seahawks, baseball, like Mariners and Blue Jays. But yeah, and even growing up, before I didn't follow them to Oklahoma, but my first favorite athlete of any sport was Sean Kemp. First poster I ever had above my bed was a Rain Man poster with him cocking it back. But
They
yeah.
brought him back to the new hockey team debut, right? Like he was at the venue on the opening day.
Yeah, he was memed pretty hard when I think it was Callie Yarncroke or something that he tried to pronounce, and was Johnny Unitas or Joe Namath struggling with it.
All right, so we're gonna open some cards in the background here.
Awesome.
We have I have some Topps Finest. I have the blaster box that I was able to buy from. Actually, I was able to buy from Target for 2001 or 2021 Finest. I also have some Topps regular set from, I think it's 2018. You have some Finest, so we'll just kind of open it up in the background as we continue our conversation. When it comes to the wrestling side of cards, where did you come in as in the hobby? Because obviously, you just sort of said basketball and football are kind of at a different level. I know baseball cards are a little bit easier to find for me, but when I was growing up, like wrestling cards were kind of a joke. Even going back to some of the WWE sets, like Action Packed had, they had the sort of the thicker cards with the embossment. Those are sort of seen as like, who would buy these? And now you go back and you look, and there's some value to those cards.
Yep.
But where did you come in when it comes to the wrestling stuff?
So I think the first wrestling product that I opened was 2017 Topps Heritage,
Okay.
I believe. My shop got it in, opened a couple boxes, really nice stuff. Uh, I like with whether it be baseball or the wrestling, I like the kind of classic matte design on
Mm-hmm.
those heritage products. So, but yeah, it was that, and it's back around that the time of release with those and UFC product. I was opening so much stuff because my shop owner couldn't get rid of it. So I was the craziest thing, and it's one of those if I only knew moments.
Yeah.
Uh, First year Topps Chrome UFC,
Oh, wow.
I opened probably 7 or 8 boxes, and I was at a show with him up in Edmonton, and he didn't want to bring it back, so he gave me his last 3 boxes for like $20 off. So I was paying $89. He sold them to me for 69, and now if you were to try and find one, it's definitely over $1,000 for a box,
Whoa.
unopened box.
And so when you busted it, was there stuff? Was there value in it?
Well, the autographs back then were pretty valuable to begin with. I
Okay.
remember I pulled Chris Cyborg red auto at a 5,
Oh, wow.
and I get like that card basically paid for everything else I pulled or everything I opened at that point. That one card, the and I I may be in the minority as a collector. I don't, but I'm not the only one who remembers the oh wish I'd kept that. Instead, I had a Dustin Poirier orange refractor first year Topps Chroma 25. It sold for $16. And then the first fight or the second fight with Connor, the
Uh-huh.
first big fight with Connor,
Right.
he won. That was a $900 card, like four
Oh.
months later. 4 months. And that just made me very, very sad at that point.
So the inspiration to this show, and I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Former WWE wrestler, superstar Antonio the Promise Thomas. He does a podcast for the Wrestling Observer website F4W called Left My Wallet. I think it was originally called Left My Wallet in Greg
We're
Polanco,
Yep.
but I think he takes that part off of it now. But
Yep.
it's a great name. So he wanted to do a show for the F4W YouTube channel, and he's like, let's talk cards. You know, we can chit chat about stuff. We'll bring people on. And so it was fun. I mean, and we were just really figuring out the kinks. I'm sort of thankful that I was able to do that because now I kind of know what I want to do here. But then he had a kid. And as anybody who has children knows, you kind of go, okay, can I do all of the things that I did before having the child?
Yeah.
The answer is no. The answer is actually hell no. And so we put that show on delay, and you know, he's loving fatherhood. He's having a blast. Him and his wife love the Shooter Jack, as my podcast partner John LaRocca calls him. And so I reached out to him and I was like, dude, I'm gonna steal the idea. I'm going to do it on wrestling and MMA cards mostly. You know, well, you cannot talk about cards without talking about sort of the history of cards. And you know, there's a great book out there that I recently picked up about sort of the history of baseball cards. But you know, but this is kind of a thing for me to connect with guys like you because I love the industry so much, and it's like, heck, you know, let's just talk about this stuff. We'll format it a little bit to MMA and pro wrestling, but the industry and the market is something that I've grown up with, so I wanted to continue it. So, anyways, this is a credit to Promise Thomas, his idea. He gave me the okay. He's like, "Yep, go do it. I'm fine with it," and so that's why we were here. So let's talk about this particular series of Topps Finest. And I don't know if you actually pulled anything that you want to showcase, but throw it up there.
A Rhea Ripley autograph.
Ooh,
base autograph, Rhea. Not numbered.
So explain the difference between the base and the numbered autographs.
So with Topps products, they call them refractors. So there's base, which are non-numbered cards, non-numbered autographs, uh, base refractors, and then various colored refractors: orange, green, gold, red, black. And they descend in print run. There's also superfractors, which are a gold shimmered card that are one of ones. The Roman Reigns one of one is actually up on eBay right now from this product. I think it's at over 5,500 US. It's like a day left or
Wow.
something, if I'm not mistaken. So
That's
uh,
nice.
yeah, WWE product has started to spike within the last 2 months. So
Is it WrestleMania? What's the reason?
I think it's actually because Topps has lost their license.
Oh, yes.
So Panini is taking over, and their first release of Prism, which is Panini's flagship brand across all sports, is coming out. And they're Prism collectors who just love the product and will, even if they're not wrestling fans or basketball fans, they'll collect Prism
Right.
because that's kind of the brand.
Now, when do those
And
WWE prisms come out?
I think it's within a month or two. I think. I
Okay.
think it's sometime later this spring. But the standard retail price when it was first posted was $299 per box, and it is now $999 US pre-sale,
That's
and that
amazing.
will definitely be going up once they actually are live.
That is amazing. So the second show that we're gonna do, you are the beta test here. You're the experiment, first experiment. There's another guy who I just started recently following, and on Instagram yesterday they ripped 8 boxes of the UFC prisms.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous watching it because I mean, to me, I'm and how much do those boxes go for the UFC ones?
So I haven't paid attention since release. My shop owner, because I asked about it before it came out last summer, because I'd gone on some of the US uh, like big time rippers and to see what the price might be, and I saw like 399, 499. I'm like, okay, I might do a couple boxes of that, give it a shot. And I went to my shop owner, and asked him. He said, I have no idea if I'm getting any of it. And I'm like, okay. 2 weeks later, I go back on the US websites, and it's $9.99 again. So my shop owner texted me on a Friday morning and said, I have one box that's not spoken for, 1,200 Canadian, and I paid it.
Wow.
That's the most I've ever paid for a box of cards. Um, and
Did you get anything that you could sell?
Yeah, well, so here's with stuff like that, I put in the work, and I scanned the front and back of every card, base, parallel, insert, everything within the first 24 hours, and got it up that first weekend. So I made like $500 back just off of the base cards
Right.
because the demand right away was so hot.
Right.
And I actually was fortunate in getting some really good parallels. I got a gold out of 10, an octofractor out of 8, and then I got an Amanda Nunes auto, which I
Ooh.
still have. Bit unfortunate with that last fight,
Yeah.
but and her hobby love, even though she is like the greatest female fighter of all time, uh, the hobby love for her isn't really there. So I've hung on to that card, but I was able to move most of it, and I actually turned a profit. Like I went into that with the thinking in my head, okay, what am I willing to lose
Right.
on this? I was like, if I lost 600 on it, it would really suck, obviously,
Yeah.
but I could tolerate that for
Right.
the chance to open the product. And I was just really fortunate in the box I got, but yeah.
No, it was amazing watching because now I'm like thinking as like a normal human being going like, okay, how much is that pack costing him to and they're just going through them, and it was amazing to watch. I think he showed me. I think they pulled a Khabib autograph. He showed me today that someone pulled a GSP. Now I don't know if there was a parallel attached to the auto, but it was
Mm,
just fun watching that stuff. I told them to save me a Chuck if they find any Chuck autographs because I'm a big Chuck
absolutely.
guy.
Yeah.
All right, so now as far as the finest, um, there's this still to this day, there's value in the rookie card, the first card. With so much WWE product over the last few years, are there any rookies in this series of 2021 finest?
No, nothing of note particularly. Um, it's interesting with WWE stuff because a lot of the names that you'll see in this set have been released,
Right.
like a
I mean,
lot.
I'm showing one right here that Swerve
E-
Scott is
e-
on
e- e-
AEW right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess with the Prism coming up, they're going to have the first Braun Breaker cards.
Okay, there you go.
So there's hype around that particular card. But with WWE stuff, trying to think, like a lot of the value tends to be around the women and then Roman Reigns and The Rock. So
Can
if you,
WWE still produce rock cards?
yes,
Wow.
um, uh, in I think it was 2020 Topps Chrome. He's definitely in that set. I can't remember if he was in the 2021 Topps Chrome, but yeah, he's definitely still in WWE releases. Uh, so
And what would Rock's actual rookie card be?
I think it's like a 1997, like a like a like a like like an ice cream really like a dad's cookies sort of like it's not I don't think that it's like an actual like licensed like
Right.
sports card. It was a release within like a different product that you bought, I believe.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way that you mentioned that Topps lost the license. Now let's talk a little bit about the business side of how things are going. So Fanatics takes the baseball license away from Topps, and then they just go out and buy Topps because Topps was like, without this license, like we're kind of nothing. Um, Explain that whole situation and sort of where we're going with some of this stuff.
Well, Fanatics has got the NBA, NFL, and MLB licenses coming up. So uh, they what I believe, uh, they want to buy Tops so that they could have access to the designs and the production people and the actual production of the products. And I wouldn't be surprised, really, if they tried to buy Panini as well. Um, the difference with Panini, it's linked to the Italian government still, I think.
Mhm.
So that might be a little bit more difficult, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did try and do that as well, just to get as much of the market as possible. I would think that they'd leave Upper Deck alone because you'd run even with buying Tops. There's a lawyer who is a great follow, but I can't remember his handle or name offhand.
Uh-huh.
But because Panini and Upper Deck and Leaf and Upper Deck have had lawsuits going back and forth with each other for years, he'll tweet about them and write articles up about them. But he was saying that you could argue based off of the fact that Fanatics just has the licenses starting in like 2025, 26, that they're already going to be a monopoly and then acquiring Tops. But I think that they would leave at least one of the manufacturers alone, just for the try and have the uh, aura of not. There's competition. It's like WWE with their
Right.
lawsuit with MLW.
Sure.
AEW beat us. There's competition. So
Okay, so now when I'm growing up, it's Topps, it's Fleer, it's Donruss. You've mentioned Leaf. Bowman comes into play. Bowman historically was in play. Bowman comes back into play in the early 90s. Um, where does Panini and all of these other brands, like, it came to a point where it was like one brand was buying the license for the league, and none of these other brands could actually make cards licensed. That this happened in video games too. EA Sports got the license for the NFL, so the only NFL game was the John Madden football game. 2K couldn't create a game anymore. Cards sort of went the same way, and why was that?
Uh, the particular companies offered large amounts of money to just buy exclusive rights or exclusive licenses. Up until 2005, I think hockey might have been the first exclusive. They went with Upper Deck back in 2000. I think it was 2004 or no, 2005, 2006. It's the first exclusive year, and they've had. There is a brief period where Panini got into hockey, but then Upper Deck got their exclusive back. Panini took exclusives in football and basketball. Topps has always had baseball, but that doesn't stop the other companies from producing cards still. Panini will still produce baseball cards. They just can't show the logos
Right.
of the jersey. So they do some creative photoshopping with their
It kind of
cards.
cheapens the product to me, though. Like, I'm not a fan of when I see that.
There are definitely collectors that won't collect unlicensed product for that reason. But there are also other collectors that kind of see it as an underdog type thing, or they'll go out of their way to actually support them. The Maverick group right now is probably Leaf because they don't have any official licenses, but they're keep churning out product and keep doing their thing.
Okay, so then, have you gotten anything else as you've been opening?
So my second auto was actually a gold refractor out of 50 of the new NXT heavyweight champion Dolph
Oh, there
Ziggler,
you go, Dolph. Well,
and I have a box of WWE Fully Loaded. So there's one autograph card in here, and so I'll just open that right now just to
cool.
see. Okay,
So explain the fully loaded product. So actually, we'll go back a little bit. How many products does WWE actually have per season or per year?
traditionally only like 3, maybe 4. Um, this year was different because Topps knew they were losing their license, and so they brought back Heritage after not doing it for I think 4 years. Um, they added uh, some. They added a couple other minor procs. They did Topps flagship. It's just Topps WWE, but
Mm-hmm.
for purposes like people just call it the flagship.
Right.
Um, to my recollection, that's the first time they've ever actually just done a regular Tops with WWE, and they jumped into the super high end market with something called Transcendent,
Hmm.
which I think was $25,000 per case. It is basically a certain group of online breakers would amass the product. They only made like 100 or 125 cases, and each case had uh, a full set of autographs numbered to between 15 to 1 of 1. The highest would be out of
Wow.
15. Uh, an entire base set, varies with various numbering, uh, oversized cut autographs, and there was an invitation to a Topps WWE party at WrestleMania weekend with each of the products,
Wow.
and then like custom for each set produced Superfractor and some auto versions of those one of ones, and then they did Fully Loaded, which I believe is their only single card per pack / box product.
Got it. Got it. So So the where does the fully loaded sit as sort of the hierarchy of the prestige of the cards?
Well, it's tough to say in the sense that well, it's probably mid tier because Topps Chrome kind of became the most desired product. Finest has actually seen a nice bump up as well.
Hmm.
Uh, Card collectors like shiny things.
Yeah, yeah.
So those are the foil board uh, chromium products. So they have more shine. They draw more people in. Um, so this is uh, $70 to $90 Canadian per pack, the fully loaded. So what's that, like $20 US or something?
Hmm.
I don't know. Uh, but so it's about the same price as a box of the regular uh, WWE Topps flagship.
Got it. Got
Uh,
it.
but again, you're getting one card, one hit. That's it. And in this one, I got a Shotzi Blackheart autograph.
There we go.
Um,
Uh, Shotzi with that. So she's had a few cards already though, right? Like she would have
yeah,
probably.
I think dating back to 2020 might have been the first product she was in.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
but
As you continue to open stuff, I was I don't think you go back this far, but I'm gonna pop up a photo here because these would have been the first wrestling cards that I bought, and there was nothing special about them. There's no no inserts available. It's just literally, a color and an act, a team, and Missy Hyatt will post about hers every once in a while. I imagine that for someone like Missy, someone like Jim Cornette, when you're doing a lot of autograph uh, shows and or people are, you're selling your stuff. I imagine they have a bunch of them on hand just because they want to. Oh, here's the card from way back in the day. But
yeah,
did you ever see those cards back in the day?
not back in the day. More recently, though,
Yeah.
I've seen them at not my main. There's two shops in town that I frequent. So not my main shop, but I actually have seen them at the other shop. So they had those A team cards and the like, all just like $1 a pack, sort of thing.
Yeah. No, that they were. It was just fun because I'd never seen wrestling cards before. Now there are like if you go back, I think there's cards from the mid '80s for sure. There's NWA cards that you can find. Promise Thomas had opened a pack when we did our show. So the 2018 blaster that I opened, the one relic card is an AJ Styles canvas. What do they call it? Matte relic from the 2018 Royal Rumble. So that's the special card of that box. All right, so I promised you that we would go about 40-ish, 45 minutes. So we'll wrap it up here. Let's adjust. Let's change the conversation slightly to wrestling. Now, you had told me earlier that you've kind of fallen off with the WWE product. Does that mean you're watching AEW? Does that mean you're watching New Japan? Or are you not watching as much?
I watch AEW Dynamite every week. I won't spring for the TSN Plus subscription because Rampage doesn't actually air on TV here.
Right, right.
Uh, but I'll try and find some streams to catch the Rampage shows, and I guess it would have been last year I started getting the pay-per-views,
Hmm.
and uh, I I won't miss a pay-per-view. My brother and I were actually originally planning on flying down to Vegas for Double or Nothing, but uh, life got in the way with that a
Oh,
bit.
bummer. That
But
would have been so fun.
yeah, but in the in the near future, I actually want to go to a show. But yeah, I stopped watching Raw and SmackDown for the most part because I genuinely don't like the production. Like the camera
It's hard.
cuts and the oversaturation of color, like those things actually bother my eyes.
It is rough. If I focus too hard, you can kind of get a little queasy, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
of the constant cuts and they'll do these things where they go camera to camera to camera to camera to camera. And I'm like, why? Like nobody cares. Like, why would you possibly do that? So it's weird. I don't know what I don't know why they believe that is the way to do it because I remember back in the day, WCW was trying to catch up to them with the production stuff. And then, they actually surpassed them when, in the Monday Night Wars, WWE, they became the only product in town. So they were the best produced product. But yeah, I don't understand. I don't know why. I think it's just, people going like, oh, I need to show my value. I need to show my worth here. Let's,
Mhm.
let's do this thing. But, anyways, loved having you on. I love talking about this stuff. I am, when I was a kid, I was sort of the most knowledgeable person about this stuff. And then my fandom kind of just went up and down and left and right. And, I'm in and out of it. So I'm super curious being kind of trying to be back in about everything that goes on. So I'm listening to podcasts and I'm following certain Twitter accounts and stuff. But where do you see, this will be the last question, where do you see the sports card market going, in a year, in 2 years? Are we going to continue the path that we're on, or you think some of this stuff is going to come down a little bit? Because, like you said, the pandemic, everything just kind of blew up. Like, if you were to guess, where are we going in the next year or two?
I wouldn't really be surprised if, for the most part, it continued on a somewhat upward trajectory until Fanatics comes in, and then it's anyone's guess
Hmm.
because I don't know if it's with all three, but I believe with at least two of the sports licenses they got, they've partnered with the PA, as it like the PA is essentially like bought into the company. So that has me kind of wondering, are they actually going to try and just maximize profits
Hmm.
right off the hop? Or are they going to try and keep the growth that the hobby's seen over the last uh, 12, guess 18 to 24 months and continue that? Uh, I just don't know genuinely with when you have millionaire athletes, if they are a part of this, if you say, okay, we can get you this much now, but it'll continue to go up, possibly slowly, but it could go up. Or if they just say, well, we're seeing these crazy like $1 million single card sales, we want to try and cash in right away. If that happens, I would fear that we could see uh, a crash to some degree. But again, with all that, it's really up in the air. But in the short term, I do see uh, a steady, consistent growth still.
Explain what you meant when you said the PA piece.
So again, I think it's definitely with the MLB, but when Fanatics purchase the licenses, they have to have agreements with the Players
Right,
Association
right.
to produce the cards, league and Players Association. But they actually did deals where the PAs actually bought into like their staked partners, so they get a direct percentage as opposed to uh, they would do individual contracts with players for autograph cards essentially. So they whatever the contract, if it like $10,000 for 500 autographs or
Right.
1,000, whatever. But in this way, the players are actually getting a much bigger stake because it's become $1 billion business. So if the players are getting like 10, 20%, of, who knows, it could be less, it could be more, but that could just entice them to just seek maximum return right away. And I just don't know if that's the best thing long term for the actual industry and hobby.
Yeah, no, that's interesting to think about how it could affect the situation. But all right, this was great. I learned a lot. I'm glad that I got to see a nice little Rhea Ripley autograph there. Hopefully you can get something for it. But yeah, is there it? So we'll show your Twitter here again, so people can follow you on Twitter. Uh, do you are you into the whole like ripping packs on Instagram and all that stuff that I see a lot of people do?
No, I don't normally do that because with those kind of productions, it's like you have the overhead camera. I
Yeah.
just have my uh, laptop camera, and I have mild cerebral palsy, so I actually have
Oh,
tremors
got
in
it.
my arms. So I'm not the most steady. I just don't think it would make for uh,
Great
great
Instagram.
content.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
No, but it's been awesome talking wrestling and cards with you on Twitter. So if you want to talk to Dave, there it is right there. And then is there anything else you want to promote or anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
no, I just want people to know this is fun. There you don't have to jump in the deep end.
Yeah.
You can start off small, get into it. It's really I the favorite part for me since 1991 has been opening packs of cards. Uh, why I do it now has changed a bit,
Yeah.
but if people want to have some fun, open up a pack of cards. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, no, and look, if you can find stuff at Target, you know what I actually see at Target a lot is the Upper Deck hockey stuff.
Yeah.
I don't I don't follow the sport anymore. I was following it in the early '90s when the Sharks were very new, and then it just became one of those things that just fell off, and I couldn't I couldn't watch everything, so that fell off. But I see a lot of Upper Deck hockey. Once in a while, I'll see the college football stuff. So I don't even know what the brands are. There's like a Pro Set. Pro Set came back. Like Pro Set
Yeah,
was around in the early '90s.
yeah. Leaf bought the name, so
Oh,
those
okay.
are all Leaf products.
Got it,
Yeah.
got it. So this is what you're talking about, where they're just airbrushing everything, and they don't have official licenses
Hmm.
and such.
Yeah.
But if you do, every once in a while, you'll see a box of Topps baseball cards. You'll see, if you're lucky, you'll see some packs of hoop cards hanging out. And I know the hoop stuff like went through the roof last year because everyone wanted a Zion or a John Morant. And this year's class is pretty good too. So if you can find basketball stuff, there's some good young players in the basketball stuff. But yeah, it's fun. It can be a little frustrating with the retail stuff because that you're not going to get the high gain of what you get in a hobby box, but that's why the hobby boxes are so much more expensive. So I've had a lot of fun with it as well. All right, thanks to Dave for hanging out with us and doing our first beta show here. Really appreciate you hanging out here, Dave. And yeah, we'll do this again at some point. You'll have to keep me in the loop on like what the hot thing is and what you're excited to open on air, and we'll just come back and do this again.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, so for Dave, I'm Double G. We'll see you when we see you. Peace out.